Okay, hello friends of Love for Volleyball, amo por el voleibol. Today I would like to introduce you to Andrea Zorzi, former Italian volleyball player, world and European champion, Olympic medalist, numerous times champion with his club, and this year, 2024, he was inducted into the International Volleyball Hall of Fame. For me today, it's a huge honor to be able to talk with one of the greatest players in history with an impressive career on the world courts. After this brief introduction, who better than Andrea Zorzi to tell us about his volleyball life? Hello, Andrea. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you very much for your invite. It's a pleasure to be here, being part of the world volleyball players and reporters. I really appreciate your invitation. I'm really happy because recently I have been in Holyoke, the place in which in 1895 volleyball was born. I was inducted in the International Volleyball Hall of Fame. It's a great honor. I have to say that the team in which I played in 90s in Italy was a very wonderful team. We were awarded as the best volleyball male team of the 20th century. And I have to say that Andrea Gardini, Andrea Gianni, Samuele Papi, and Lorenzo Bernardi was already part of the International Volleyball Hall of Fame. I'm the fifth player of that team. I'm very happy, but I think that any other player of that team deserved to be in the IVHF. So I'm very happy, and I had a great experience being there, spending sometimes with a lot of friends, old friends like Jeff Stork, and I really appreciate being part of an international huge family of volleyball.
Absolutely, I agree absolutely with you. And I wanted to ask you, Andrea, about your beginning in volleyball. Why did you choose, or why did you volleyball as your sport?
I was young, obviously, but I was already 16 years old. I was attending Liceo Classico in Italia. Is a second school in which you are focused on humanities. And when I was 16 years old, the gym professor asked me which sport I was playing, even that I was very tall. And when I answered, I'm not doing nothing, he said, you have to play something. Being so tall, you should play something. So I have to choose between volleyball and basketball, the two most popular sports in Italy and also in Europe for tall people. And I decided to play volleyball for a very significant reason, because the volleyball gym was closer to my home. So no any other reason than the gym was pretty close. In my family, my father is albino and my mother Diana. They have not any experience with sports, so it was the first in my family to start to play volleyball. And at the very beginning, it was not a matter of being a good player or let even imagine a professional career. The most important thing that I was more comfortable playing a sports for tall people and being among tall player, and so I'm not to fight against my height, and that was very important, very beginning of my career.
I understand you, and we see, for example, today that, for example, soccer, calcio has many tall players. In the 80s and 70s, you were tall, over 2 meters high, you could not play soccer, calcio. But it's very interesting to see how sports evolve. I wanted to ask you, Andrea, did you have, for example, some volleyball player that you wanted to emulate, or wanted to be, or was your inspiration this time? Because I tell you this because in my time in the 80s, we look upon the mountains and we saw the Argentinian players, the Brazilian players wanted to play like them. Did you have somebody that you were inspired of?
Meeting volleyball was very unexpected. So until 16 years old, I don't know nothing about volleyball.
Okay.
As many other Italian, we were in love about soccer. I was starting to watch some NBA basketball game. But after my beginning as a volleyball player, I was inside an environment in which Polish volleyball was very influenced, because in those years, Italian Volleyball Federation rely a lot on the expertise of Polish. And as you know, in the 70s, Poland was very, very important. They won a world championship, also Olympic Games. And so Alexander Skiba and Richard Bozek were my first two coaches. And they told me story about their experience. And as you know, Poland has a very close relation, but tough relation with the former Soviet Union. So
Exactly.
they start to talking me story about Sabin, Moliboga, and Zaitsev. So the first memories about volleyball when I was a young player was about the East volleyball, the East European volleyball. Then USA took control because, as you know, in '84 with the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, Doug Bill was the coach of a wonderful team that won 1884 Olympic Games, 86 in Paris World Championship, and they gain again the world gold medal in Seoul '88. So at the beginning, my myth, my model were coming from Soviet Union or Poland or even bigger, East Europe. When I start to be a player, my interest was catched by USA volleyball player like Pat Powers, Tim Timmons, Kurt Kirley, Dusty Dvorak, Jeffrey Stork, Stuart Leak. But they were also my teammates. So the difference is the old Soviet Union player and Polish were a kind of myth. The other was a great player, but I was playing against them.
Fantastic. I listened to you, and I can't believe that I'm speaking with one of the greatest players of the history who plays with the greatest. So for me, I told you outside camera, and right now it's a huge honor to me. I wanted to ask you now about you told me about your first important trainers, but later with Alexander Skiba, you played in the Junior World Championship in '85 in Milan. How was it for you be part of this team with where you play with Andrea Gardini, Paolo Toffoli, Claudio Galli, and you make I think one of the greatest young generation who later played with the major team of Italy. How was it for you to be part of this team?
When I was a young player, I didn't understand how much important was the program led by Carmelo Pittera. He was in charge of the junior project, and Italian Federation had a very great opportunity to follow a long project to prepare the team for the 1985 World Junior Championship play in Italy. What I remember right now was working hard for a long time, staying in some little town between a huge mountain and spending a lot of time working hard with Alexander Skiba. He was a great coach, very tough. We worked hard, and my teammates were the backbone of a great team that became even greater when we start to play with the senior national team. So Andrea Gardini, Luca Cantagalli, Paolo Toffoli, also Claudio Galli, and others were a part of my junior team. I think that spending a lot of time working hard and fighting for the best, striving in any condition was the base in which we can improve our level, and then we can exploit after when we start to be part of the senior team in Italy.
Fantastic. I told you also outside camera that we played against in Bologna, and I remember until on this day that when you came into the court, a music started to play, a music from the group Hugh Lewis and the News, and we were astonished. What is this? What is this? Why the Italian team enter with a rock band? It was fantastic for us. We were very, very impressed. But also you played fantastic, and this team, as you say, was part of the maybe the backbone for the next generation.
That's your approach, and I really like to have your opinion. But you have to think that in those years, Cuban junior team with Joel de Spain and Goicoechea and other, and also even more, the Soviet team were much better than us. So my feeling, my memory is, we were good enough, but other country was much better than us because they have more tradition. So Soviet Union volleyball tradition is much longer and much bigger than us. They were kind of unbeatable, and Cuban were very physically gifted, and so they were unbelievable. So it's nice to mix your memories and my memories, because I was pretty happy to be part of the Italian national team, but we were looking ahead because the other team were stronger than us.
I understand. And also in this championship, we saw many teams that later become also fantastic gold winners, like the Dutch team, the Bulgarian, the Brazilian team. They were also fantastic, and many, many great players also later played with you in your clubs. And I wanted to ask you now, Andrea, about your career with the Generazione di Fenomeni. That team that you said was selected the best team of the 20th century. How was it for you and your young teammates to be selected to play with the players that, for example, won the bronze in Los Angeles? Franco Bertoli, Piero Rabodengo, all these, Gianni Lafranco, these legends from Italy from the past. How was it for you to be part? Was it easy? Was it hard to mix with them? How was your experience in playing in this team?
I was selected to be part of the senior Italian team a few years before that Velasco became the head coach. So I had the experience of playing with Piero Rebaudengo and Enrichiello and all those generation. For us, it's a kind of a sliding door, a crucial point in which Italian volleyball changed completely. In 1899, we were, I can say, a good team, but not one of the top team in the world. We were behind the 10th position in the world ranking. And in 1999, the Italian Federation decided to choose Velasco as the head coach. Velasco was an Argentinian coach. He went in Italy in the mid-80s. He had a good experience in a small town in the center of Italy, Iesi. Iesi is a small town close to Ancona. And then he was chosen by Panini Modena as head coach. And he won 4 years consecutive the Scudetto. After the fourth Scudetto, Federation said, we believe that Velasco is the right choice to give him the responsibility for the senior team. And that was the moment in which our history changed completely. We were not aware that something will change in the future, because the problem is that when we watch old story, we know how was the result, the ending results. So now we know that that team became one of the most strong team in the world. But when we started in 1989, we didn't know that we can achieve something very important. So we start, and Velasco was pretty good in giving us the right information to build a very good team, a cohesive team. He talked collectively with everybody. He talked personally with us. He helped us to understand how we can improve our level. And then we work hard, obviously. We worked very hard for many, many months. And then we start winning really, really fast. But the most important thing I would like to share with you is that right now is too easy to know that that team was with a lot of very good players. Lorenzo Bernardi is the best player of the 20th century. Andrea Zani is the most talented player in the volleyball history. And Andrea Gardini, Marco Bracci, Luca Cantagalli, Samuele Papi, Paolo Toffoli, Fabio Vulo, many of them. But we have to know that when we were working, when we were practicing, we didn't know that we will have a success, achieve our... So, yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be part of that team. We work hard. We were physically gifted. And I think that another peculiarity of those players is that we were very, very focused.
Okay.
We worked pretty hard. We strive always for the best. we accept to find the right balance between an individualistic nature and the teamwork. So our individual competitive was very strong, but that individual competitive strength was put in a collective word. This two, the ability to manage these two different approach was very important. Probably was a kind of secret that made that team so strong.
Yes, while you're speaking, I thinking about another team, and you mentioned it before about the American team who won gold in Los Angeles. USA volleyball wasn't in the 70s a good team. They didn't go, for example, to the Olympic Games. They were, I can remember, 19th in the World Championship in Rome, but they make also a big project to gain volleyball, gold volleyball in Los Angeles. I have also the opportunity to speak with Doug Beagle. I read the book that Sean Murray wrote about this history of this absolutely crazy project, and I kind of understand absolutely what you're saying about your team, your volleyball team in which you play. Yeah. And also, I think I will ask you about Julio Velasco, because an Argentinian who came to Italy, who made this possible, and I wanted to ask you about, because in this time in the late 80s, there were another fantastic team, the Russian, the Brazilian, the Cuban, the Bulgarian, USA was also fantastic. And how do you think a team can be better than the others, having the other teams equally high players, tall players, strong players, a good infrastructure to play, good leagues? How was it possible that you were better?
I don't think there is a matter of a recipe. There is not a secret to succeed. but we are talking about also how different culture shape your way to play volleyball.
Yes.
You talk about the wonderful USA team coached by Doug Beal, and by culture, Anglo-Saxon people are very focused on individualistics.
Yes.
Goal. So at the very beginning, Doug Beal told me, and in that book is explained pretty clearly, the main goal was build a team with a very individualistic player.
Yes.
You have to add that in those years, indoor volleyball in USA was not so popular. They were more used to play beach volleyball. So beach volleyball is a couple. So it's a mix between a team sports and an individual sports.
Yes.
And the biggest challenge was persuade the player to put aside their individual aim and play as a team. I'm a son of Italy. I'm part of a South European country. I think we have a culture, I would say Mediterranean cultures, in which we are not so individualistic as North American. So I think that Velasco found a different, he had to find different behavior to be convinced as. And probably Velasco, obviously, he's a very smart guy, he's a great coach, but I think that some analogies, cultural analogies between European, South European, and South American culture can help.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that Velasco understands quite easily our culture. He understands that Italian, for example, are very able to give the responsibility to the other. He called that alibi. The alibi culture is not my fault, it's the other fault. And I think it was very, very effective on understanding how it can motivate us and change our behavior. But probably is because he's a very smart guy, he's very intelligent, but the similar culture helps a lot him.
Yes, I understand, absolutely. And as I told you, I met last year Silvano Prandi in Hall of Fame in Holyoke, and he told me something about he has had a player from Russia in his team, Yuri Zapega. So he was a fantastic player. He also played in the '85 World Championship.
Yeah, he was.
But he told me, Silvano, that he doesn't speak at all. Silvano liked to speak with the players, but Yuri Sapega for 3-4 months didn't say anything. Later, he began confident in started to talk. And Silvano asked him, "Why didn't you speak when we are making communication in our group?" And he told him that in Russia and in Soviet Union this time, players were allowed to talk. The trainer said what you have to do, and the players say, "Okay, I do it." So it's, I should say, it's very, very clear that the culture of many of this country made this possible to have great teams. Also, the Brazilian, with all this jogo bonito style of volleyball, the Cuban with this passion to play. And I wanted to ask you about your Cuban rivals, because in this time we saw many fantastic games against the Cuban, and I have also the opportunity to interview Jordi Spaine, and I asked him why did he shout so much in the game? What was his objectives to shout against the rivals so much? He told me he laughed. He told me he was his tactic to disconcentrate to disfocus the rival. But how was it for you to play against this crazy team? And the strangest thing also that you always won. So I didn't understand very well this part of the history.
The fights and the quarrel with the Cuban was very, very fun. It was very tough because they were a good team, first of all, but they like to shout a lot, and we were almost the same. But going back to, I'm sorry. Going back to the idea that the culture of your country shape your way in which you play, I would like not to oversimplify, but I think that, as I told you, the pragmatic attitude of North American to think about the life, you can recognize that the pragmatism in the way they play.
Yes.
For example, our social relation, it could be not exactly the same, but very close to your South American culture of being part of a big family, a society, and spending time together. And after the match, you go to eat a pizza or a drink a beer, or you drink something, but spending time together. For North America is not so used. Going back to Soviet Union, they grew up in a very authoritarian behavior.
Yes.
So they are used to listen and talk a little. If you think about Japanese, the Japanese culture is based on hierarchic relation. So you are the place and the role that society give to you, and you have to respect them. So I truly believe that the risk is oversimplify a huge matter as anthropology, but I think that Japanese play volleyball close to their culture, as North America, South American, and North European play in a different way than South European. I think that this is very interesting. Okay, it's not easy because we are making very simple this relation between culture and play, but it's interesting. And about going back to Cuban, they are a big heart, and they like to shout, and they like to play hard, and so it was very funny. But first of all, Cuban team was pretty good. Then after the defeat in the final of 1990 World Championship in Brazil, I think they felt the waste opportunity, and they cannot keep playing at that level, and they lose their potentiality.
I agree with you. And speaking about, it's very interesting what you're saying about the culture, and also, for example, many times I have spoke with players or trainers about the volleyball schools in the 70s, for example. They were very different. The volleyball in Japan, they had their school of volleyball, the volleyball in Soviet Union, the volleyball in Europe. And as you say, it was very different. The Italian way of playing as the Polish way of playing. But today we see, it's my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, that many teams play alike. You have you can watch a club championship, and they have many big players, strong serve, high balls, the back row, the pipe attack. But you can maybe the French team has something different with Mbappé, I don't know, but you see that they play very alike.
Yeah.
But in your time, maybe your team found something special that allow you to win and started to win. For example, in Sweden in '89, then the championship, the world championship, the World Cup. I don't know. Maybe it was, as you say, the willingness to win, your mix with your culture, with the Argentina and Latino culture, to all also to have this game to win, or maybe it was your fantastic athletic skills, the time. I don't know. For me, it's a mystery, but it's so interesting to know.
I truly believe that it's always a matter of balance. Obviously, playing volleyball means that you have some physical skill. You have to be tall, you have to be fast. So obviously, we start from some physical gift you need to have to be a very competitive and a top athlete. Then it's not enough because, for example, Cuban or also Soviet, they were physically much more gifted than the other player. But it's not enough because you have to the right attitude. You have to be also tactically very smart and able to change position, adapt as fast as possible. When I think about sports, I'm thinking always about something dynamic. Okay. It's a kind of balance. It's not just a matter of being very physically or tactically or the right attitude. You need to put together many different peculiarities. I think that you before spoke about how changed volleyball from 70s, 80s. Obviously, now we have access to much more information. That's why the globalization of the world at volleyball make volleyball more close, more similar than in the past.
Exactly.
I remember, for example, one of the first tournaments we have played as a junior team. We went to play a friendly match in the Soviet Union. And when we arrived in the Soviet Union, we discovered that they were testing a new kind of block. It was I don't know if the right name is a chess block.
Yeah, we call it the tandem block because this player follows the other.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So it's a really innovative way. Yeah. And we discovered that they are testing the sliding block when we arrived to play the friendly match. Can you imagine if now in any place in the world something is testing something new, tomorrow morning you will have a video where you can check.
Yes.
So the accessibility of the information makes volleyball much more easy to develop, and all teams are following the same path. Then you have to add that we have much more information about video, about stats, and the physical conditioning is much better than in the past. That's why the top athletes are more similar than in the past. Also, the culture is much more similar.
Yeah,
we're leading in a world in which you can find some different, but speaking in simplified way, not a huge difference between Japan, Italy, or Europe, or South North America. That's why, as you said before, even volleyball is more similar in the recent year than in the past.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you now, Andrea, about your championships, your experience, because you played so many championships. Did you have some championship that you remember the most? I maybe sometimes you played not your best volleyball, but the experience, the mood were fantastic. Do you have some championship or more that you remember the most?
To make it simple, I will say that the first championship in 1990 was a kind of a wonderful dream that became true. We were young. It was totally unexpected. The year before, we won unexpectedly. European champion. For us was a dream. In just 2 years, we reached the top of the volleyball world and was really exciting. The problem was staying on the top. That's why after the 90, the problem was keeping the right focus, not thinking too much about ourselves. And we pay that bad behavior because in 1991 and 92 we didn't perform so well. So in 1992 Olympic Games in Barcelona, we lost at the fourth quarter against Netherlands. Then Velasco changed some player, and we start again, and we start to win again a European Championship and World Cup. And so making a comparison between the first gold medal in Brazil and the second gold medal in Athens in 1994, I can say that obviously we were excited. But if the first one was a kind of a dream of a child that come true, the second was the confirmation, the rational confirmation that we are still the strong. And the emotion is much different. The first one start from your stomachs. It's a very instinctive. The second is very exciting, but it's more rational. We are showing to the other and also to myself that we are still the strong. So that's a kind of destiny. The first victory is much more exciting. The second is a confirmation. It's even more tough to win, but the emotion is much different.
Fantastic. I also remember watching your induction speak in Holyoke this year, and I was very fantastic impressed about what you told, the importance for Olympic game in Seoul in '88. Please tell me in more further words, why was it so important for you, this Olympic game?
Oh, 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul is the most important experience of my life because in the Olympic Village, I met Giulia Staccioli. She was a rhythmic gymnast, and then we became. She became my wife. So I met the most important person in my life. That's why I would say that the experience in an Olympic Village is so amazing. There is the other side of the moon. So if you are playing an Olympic Games without many expectation, you can enjoy this amazing environment in which you can find thousands of different athletes from all around the world and spend time talking with them and playing with them. If you are playing an Olympic Games with a huge expectation, you have to remain very focused. And so you have not to be distracted from many other things happening around you. That's why the other two Olympic Games I have played, 1992 in Barcelona and 1996 in Atlanta, were talking about professional way, much more exciting, but personally was less funny, less light. But I can say that an experience in Olympic Games is interesting because you can play with the highest level of your sports and even meet some unbelievable person.
Yeah, fantastic. I remember also have talked and interviewed Dutch players who won in Atlanta, and they told me the same as you're saying, that in Barcelona they were very impressed of the Olympic Villa, meeting so much persons. In '92 they were the dream team of basketball with Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. They were all thrilled about the mood of the Olympic movement. But in Atlanta, as you say, they were more focused and concentrate on their play. And I wanted to ask you now, Andrea, about your club experience, because you played in fantastic teams. You won many Scudetto and also European championships. And we're speaking about the different culture of way of playing of different countries. And you played with former fantastic players of other countries. How was it possible to make this a mix of cultures and way of volleyball playing to make a great team? I know it's possible. You did it, but was it hard for you? Was it a very difficult task to perform like this, or it was easy to put the things together and now we play and win?
It's a tough question. It's a tricky question. First of all, I will say that my club professional career was much more easy than my national career, because with the Italian national team, we won a lot. And with the club, I lost more than I won, so it's not easy. Look at back at my club career. Talking about my first experience in Parma was nice. I arrived in Parma when I was pretty young. I was a younger player, and so I met there Vojtovic, one of the best players in the world, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, a hero of our history. I played with a French setter, Fabiani, right?
Yes.
And then I met Dustin Dvorak and Renan Dalzotto, Ben Gustafsson, a Swedish player.
Yes.
So I can say that probably there is a kind of international volleyball language that is very similar.
Okay.
So we don't need to share the same language. We cannot share the same culture at all. We can find the right balance just playing volleyball. But for sure, you can enjoy even the difference. Renan Dalzotto was probably the best player, like a spiker I met in my life, and it was Brazilian. For example, I don't know, probably also in Argentina, but you don't like spend too much time sitting on the table waiting to eat in Italia. First, pasta. Second, meat.
Excuse me, that for us, and when we went to the championship, we didn't understand this. In Chile, you served on the table, pasta, it's okay, finished. But you serve pasta, and then the second plate,
at least primo and secondo. And sometimes antipasto means something that you eat before pasta, and pasta is the first, but you cannot eat pasta for a second. The second is meat or fish. So for a South American, it's not easy to adapt as fast because you think we are wasting time. Why you spend so much time sit there? And so Renan Dalzotto start to be boring and doing a lot of tricks and was very funny. The other is, I told you before that after a match, after a practice, we like to spend some time to drink a beer together. And when I met Dustin Dvorak or Jeff Stork, it was natural for us asking them, will you come with us to drink a beer? And they say no, because I'm not here to drink a beer for you. I'm here to play volleyball. But believe, when you are in the gym, there is an international volleyball language that you can use. The difference is the attitude of your life outside the court.
Exactly. And I wanted to ask you now, about when do you begin to think about your retirement? Because volleyball players, even that volleyball is not a physical sport, have many consequences for our physics, because our knees suffer, our ankles, I don't know. But did you have sometimes, or do you remember when you began to think about, okay, I want to play 1 year, 2 years later? Do you have some project in this time that you were thinking for your future, or how was it for you in this moment?
I don't know if what I'm telling to you is what really happened, or if I was kind of rethinking many years after. But after the defeat in the Olympics final in Atlanta against Netherlands, the disappointment was pretty high. And I remember that I was thinking, I want to be able to stay another 4 years at the top level to try to play the next Olympic Games that will be played in Athens in Sydney in 2000. So probably I decided that after 1996 Olympic Games, my career won't last 4 years. Okay. I moved from Treviso, a very important team, Sisley Treviso, to Lube Macerata. Macerata is a small town in the center of Italy, and they were very ambitious, a very good team. And I met there a very close friend like Marco Meoni, Roberto Masciarelli, and other players. But probably I understood that that were a kind of last years of my career. I did not already decide, but probably something is moving in my head. Then happened that in 1997-98, at the end of the at the middle of the regular season, I was not pretty happy about my performances. And I was discovering that I cannot be able to accept the defeat. So the defeat was a really unbelievable injury. And the victory was something that I give for granted. So it's like the balance between being happy when you win, being disappointed when you lose, but ready to start to work better is broken. And so I decided that I was not be able to be a good player, accepting the defeat, enjoying the victory, and keep working hard. And I prefer stop when I was pretty young. I retired when I was 33 years old because I believe that it's a better quit, retire, be early than staying there, not playing at your level and being always nervous, always anxious. And so I decided to retire when I was pretty young and still performing.
Yes. And after volleyball, what did you did and what did you do now?
I was lucky because I was the first player of the Generazione di Fenomeni to retire. So I was the only one available to be a journalist, to be involved as a technical commentator, trying to write some article because I was not involved in. And so I had the opportunity from Gazzetta dello Sport, the most important sport newspaper in Italia, and some television, to be involved as a sports reporter. And was very exciting because it's an opportunity to remain in the world of sports, not being involved 24 hours on 24, 7 days to 7. And so I start my career as a sport reporter. It was very exciting. I put all my energy to be as good as I can. I have a good teacher, Gianluca Pasini, a young journalist in those years, and Carlo Gobbi and Jacopo Volpi. So they helped me to teach me how I can be a good journalist, how I can use my volleyball player experience to say something about volleyball.
Yes.
And that's what I'm still doing. I really enjoy this opportunity because I had the opportunity to stay in volleyball, not only looking at the past, not just remaining in the past, but looking at the future and using my experience in the volleyball.
And as you're saying, using your experience as a volleyball player, did you use it also for example, to be an actor?
That's another unexpected, unpredictable experience. It was in 2012, so 12 years ago, and a couple of friends have a theatrical company in Florence, and Florence was the Italian capital of the sports. And so they were asking to have a show, a theatrical performances that mix together culture and sports.
Okay.
And Nicola Zavagli, who is the director, and Beatrice Visibelli, she is the wonderful actress that stay on the stage with me. They asked me if I was ready to share the story of Generazione di Fenomeni to prepare a show. And I accept, so I was there. Volleyball helped me in the stage, in the theater, because you are used to be very focused, to work hard, to be very serious. Then I discovered also that the life, the experience on theater, on the stage is much different. For example, it's not a matter of winning or losing. Theater is not something where you win or you lose. It's not a zero-sum game. Second, I think that when I was a player and I was in trouble, to focus again, I was used to very close my vision to focus only on the white ball. Those times the ball was still white. So it's interesting is just focusing and watching the ball. So making the universe smaller. When you are on the stage for a theatrical performances, you need to open, not to close. So it's completely different. Focus on sport is making the world smaller. Focus on theater is makes your world bigger.
Yes.
And the last difference is that as an athlete, you enjoy playing in front of a big audience, but you're not playing for the audience. You're playing to win against an opponent. So the main identity of sports is still living even if there is not audience watching the event. If you are on a theater, you are there just because the people are watching you. So the relation with the public in the theater is much stronger, much more important. Even if they are hide in the dark, they are very silent, but you depend much more from the public as an actor than as a player.
Absolutely amazing. I could speak hours for hours with you about your career, your volleyball, and your actor experience. I know you have a tight agenda, and I wanted to thank you finally, Andrea, for your time, to being so kind to me to speak about your fantastic experience. I finally wanted to thank you again for your time, for your willingness to speak with me.
Look, believe me, Alfredo. I think that this is just the first part of a longer chat, because
you're welcome.
I have something I would like to share with you, because for sure we can go even more in deep about my sports career and talk with the other. But what I would like to do in the next opportunity is, given that the contemporary society is changing so fast, I'm really worried, because I think that sports can lose his social role in the future. Because since I think the 80s, 90s in United States, sports and business are very, very close.
Yes.
So what happened now? We are not talking just about sports, the value of sport. We are talking sports in connection, very close connection with business. So what will happen in the next 10 years? How the new generation are watching, are leading sports experience, for sure in a different way than we live in, say, 70s and 80s. So I think that if we love sports, if we think that sports can be useful for the society, we need to think very deeply what we can do for the society. Which value are real value? Because right now, I think that sports could be considered something very, very important, because athletes are worldwide known, are rich and popular, and they are competitive. I think that we risk to be a kind of accomplice of a very polarized world. So the next time we can try to
I agree with you, and I'm thinking about, for example, shortly I told you that I'm working with a translation from Russian to English from Alexander Savin's book, and this is maybe a kind of way to try to understand another history of the world, of Soviet Union, which were the objectives, the motivations, their lives. A very different world of people having one object in sport, maybe with his family, and so for me it's very fascinating to speak with people like you, not only about volleyball or the sport itself, but to know more about culture, way of thinking, the way, as you're saying, how sport can influence our society, or to make an impact, because in Chile we have many things to say about this, so I think it's fantastic.
But believe me, Alfredo, I think that we are used to listen many times that sport could be a model for the social life.
Yes.
I don't think this is so interesting, because if you accept the model of the sports, means that you're ready to accept that one is a winner and the other is a loser.
Yes.
And in the sports, we cannot change this simplification. So I truly believe that sports can be very useful, because now can be a kind of mirror in which we can understand something about ourselves and our society. Then, as you told before, having a wonderful story of the past. What does it mean being a volleyball player in the former Soviet Union in 70s? What does it mean be a volleyball player in USA in the 80s,
Yes.
or in South American. So for sure, this interesting way to tell us something about the history of our world. But then, please, I think that in the future, the biggest challenge is understand how sports can be useful for the society and not become a kind of accomplice of, I can say, consumistic world.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to share with you next time.
I'm absolutely am thrilled to do this because, as we spoke, I love to be in contact with the people I interview because it's not only one interview. I think in communication and relationships. And thanks to technology today, we're able to speak. In the past, it was impossible. So for me, it's so great, Andrea, to listen to you, to learn from you, and I think in many ways we can maybe humbly help volleyball and maybe societies to think about sport and think about history and how history can help our future, especially in these times, in these very tough times that we're living abroad in all the world. So I thank you again, Andrea, for your time. For me, it was a pleasure to know you. I am sure we will keep talking about this. It's so interesting. And I wish you all the luck in your projects, for your family, for your acting career, for your journalism career. So I think for me, it was an honor, a joy to meet you. And thank you again and again.
Thank you. See you soon and keep in touch.
Bye-bye.